All right. And I believe we are live. Yes, yes. All right. Today, with the Creative Tech. Oh, well, where are my manners? I am Joseph Sunderman, and I am the Creative Tech, but not the Creative Tech. I'm a Creative Tech. I just happen to run the channel, the Creative Tech. And we also have a Facebook group, so be sure to go check that out and join the group, subscribe to the channel. And not much going on Twitch yet. I've just started, streaming to that area, and I don't even think I have the profile set up, but we are on Twitch, and we will be setting that up as we go. And just so everybody knows, Creative Tech is a new community that we've started. There's a bunch of creatives in the Cincinnati, Dayton area. We all have been working together for the past few years together. And I do have Cole Chase and Will Story. Both of these professionals work in their own special areas. They are going to be joining us here shortly. But yeah, I just wanted to tee things up. We're running late as hell today, at late as fuck. I don't know why I'm watching my mouth. Like, I know this is public. The Creative Tech is, supposed to be business driven. But again, we are being very casual. We're being very loose here. We're here just as personal people. This is not business. This is professionals talking amongst each other and working with each other how to better our, work-life balance. It's hard to do, especially in today's crazy busy world. So we believe as Creative Techs that you can't just work a straight 8-hour shift and then go and have that work-life balance. We believe that it's important for you to have a career, a profession where you have the freedom to be able to grind out, just like, when you go to school, you had to learn the way they were teaching you. When you go to work, you have to work the way they tell you to work. That, as you get older, we've learned that you can learn in different ways. You got to figure out the way you learn, so that way you can pursue things that way. How do you want to live? So that way you can design your life to live that way. That's what the essence of the Creative Tech is. So, I'm just going to go ahead and, break out what the focus today is, the discussion, and then we're going to get the guys in here to join us. So the way Sessions works is every week we're going to have a focus. And my hope is at some point that we have a newsletter or something that goes out. That way we have conversation and feedback to help with the actual live streams as the community grows. I do see that happening. So let's help make that happen by going ahead and hitting the, subscribe button on the channel and joining the group. There's a few questions when you join the group. The group is really where the core, involvement with the community is going to happen, along with these here streams. So by all means, join the group, join the channel, subscribe to the channel, and keep tabs on us. Watch the delta, watch us improve and change as we continue to grow. So back to today's focus. Today's focus is going to be on the tech stack. Now, for business, I do manage tech stacks for multiple companies. And a tech stack isn't just your applications that your IT department manages and the hardware. It's also, all the services you use for your business, who does your payroll, who does your social media. Like, your tech stack is everything technology based. Your entire digital identity, everything it touches is made up from your tech stack, and also your workforce. So we're not going to worry about the leadership and how to train people. I'm sure some of that will come out while we discuss this, but the focus is on that tech stack. What gear do you use? What software do you use? And how do you maintain all that stuff, right? Those are the three topics we're going to go over today. So without any further ado, I do want to welcome Mr. Will Story and Mr. Cole Chase to the stream here. So guys, welcome.
What's up?
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. How was that practice intro? Was that, did we feel that, or was that really just me fucking? Oh, awesome. Well, I'll work on that shit because we don't want to feel, we do want to be professional here, but we want to have fun, right? So, yeah, Cole, we'll let you go first since I introduced you second. Why don't you go ahead and fill us in on what it is that you do for a living, and give us a little bit of feedback on where you currently are and how you got here.
All right, everyone. My name is Cole Chase. I'm an electrical engineer from Dayton, Ohio. I spend my free time doing video and creative work, so that's how I met John here. And I usually my 9 to 5 is an electrical engineer, and then my 5 to 9 would be a creative tech. So that's how I got introduced to John. We actually got met at a concert. We were both filming it. The Creative Tech.
You mean Joseph?
Joseph.
Yeah. We're acquaintances. We're not really friends. I'm fucking with you. I'm giving you a hard time. I was like, who's he calling John? Anyway.
So yeah, that's a pretty small introduction about myself.
Yeah. So why electrical engineering?
I actually did computer engineering for 2 years. I thought that was my move, but I realized the software with programming C++ definitely wasn't my niche. So I switched to electrical engineering because it's more hardware based. And I've always been into computers. So when you build your first computer as a middle schooler, high schooler, it just becomes kind of like an easy career path after that. It was kind of the logical choice. For me, for college, there wasn't any creative field I necessarily wanted to pursue in college, just because I knew I could do that outside of college and get the degree, get the job, have the stability, and then do this on the side. So that was kind of my reasoning for it. Not that I enjoyed being an electrical engineer as much as I would a filmmaker. At the time, it just made sense to have that electrical engineering in my back pocket. So yeah, that's pretty much why
Absolutely.
I did that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to unpack there. I have a lot of thoughts around that, and nothing but positive. But yeah, awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And the man Will Story here. What's the story, Will Story?
What's the story, Will Story? You love playing puns on my name, don't you?
Not as much as you do, but let's go with it.
I don't do it that often. But no. So I'm a professional photographer and videographer for a marketing firm, which is what I've been doing for the past 6-ish years. And then outside of that, Joe and I have actually worked on quite a few projects together, being either short films or music videos. Pretty much anything I can put a camera in front of, I'll do that. Most things.
And why, how old are you again, if you don't mind my asking?
30.
So at 24, you're like, hey, I'm going to be a professional of this. Was it at 24 that happened, or was it up till 24 where you're like, you know what, I'm going to go all in on this because I've been doing this? Like, how did you get started?
Photography I've been doing for over 10 years. And it was the beginning, it was any like portrait shoot I could get. And then it was, you move on up to weddings, and then you start upgrading your equipment and whatnot. But then as the years go on, you start realizing that photographers are a dime a dozen. Literally everyone knows somebody who's a photographer. And so regardless of skill set, it just became more of like I need to figure out a way to still monetize those skills. And so I picked up video probably back in like 2015, 2016, somewhere in there. I started kind of like getting into video and seeing like how the lay of the land is for business on that end. And from that point forward, I just realized that no one wants to be a videographer. It feels like everyone's cool with shooting, but then that comes to editing, that everyone wants to bail out. And so,
absolutely.
Yeah. I said, I'm down. I actually don't hate editing video. And so I said, screw it, just going to go ahead and find that niche and started doing that. And because of that, I met the guys I work with now in the marketing side of things. And slowly but surely, after about 6 years working with a corporate, not creative job, was able to step away from that and just become full-time photo and video.
That's awesome. That's I think that's what the dream is, right? Is to find something that you're passionate about and eventually get there. And Cole, just out of curiosity, because I know I'm the oldest fucker here at 44. How old are you again? You're 20.
I'm 26.
26. So, varying ages here, very different spots in careers and professions. Coming up from, dropping out of school and wanting to play music, it was mainly factory work and working with crackheads, building steel buildings and things of that nature, like literally working with crackheads, and realizing that wasn't the direction I wanted to go in. So, going to school at 24 and not graduating a 2-year degree because of life being a bitch. It took me 4 years to finish a 2-year degree just because you have to work and live and pay for it yourself. And then finally getting that degree and just diving into the world and getting here now, and then that's what led me to get the opportunity to meet you guys and Cole. I met you at the very beginning. Like all I had when I met you was a A7 III. Like one
think I had
camera.
I
Yeah,
still
you-
remember that pretty well because I was rocking the A6300, and I
Yeah.
see this guy walk up. He's got 2 camera bodies on him. He's got a bag.
Oh,
He's
I did
got,
have 2 cameras. That's right.
oh yeah, no, you had 2 cameras. You had.
You were a little further in my.
I was
my
definitely
game.
checking out the gear because you were rocking. It was all G Master. I know that. I can't remember what lens it was, but I remember talking to you and being kind of blown away because I think when I met you, I was 20, maybe 19. I was in college at UC still, so I was there on a gig from one of my friends who worked in the promotion industry. He said, "Hey, there's a concert, Thompson House. You down to film it?" I said, "Of course." I was there. That's how I met you. But Will was talking about doing weddings, and I filmed probably 20, 25 weddings throughout college. And
Yeah,
it is
that's right, you did
not
wedding.
fun. It is, I mean, it's great at the time when you get into it because you're like, oh wow, I can make this much money in one day, 2 edits. And then once you start doing one, especially if you're priced too low, like I was initially, I just took on a ton of jobs way too low. And then I put like a bad taste in my mouth. So I knew I should have done a lot better job up front of realizing prices. But coming from before I did my first wedding video, I mean, I was doing music videos or filming concerts for $100, $150, So if you say $800 at someone and they say yes, you're like, oh wow, that's amazing. And then you realize that
These are close to getting this is $5,000.
yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so and the real value here, guys, in what we're doing right now for I see we have one viewer right now, but the bottom line is even with nobody watching this, and we know we don't expect anybody to be watching this right now. In fact, if anybody watches this, it'll probably be more likely that'll happen after the fact. But the value that we're adding here is for the guy that's looking at doing wedding photography, hearing us talk about this and getting those insights from people that actually went through that. And I know there's a plethora of people out there in the world, but the beautiful thing about this group right here is we're all available, and I got to keep on doing this because I know my mission here is to grow this group. We got to get people to join the Facebook group, give us an idea of where you are, because right now we're not engaging with Facebook group. It's literally like 2 weeks old, but we are going to, I'm working with people right now that are going to start engaging with it. And this is the thing is I can't do this by myself. So as long as we know the mission and we can delegate certain tasks to people, you join this group, we're going to be able to get all of us to, work with each other and stay engaged and really help those that are serious about becoming a creative tech and wanting to get in the world. So that way, we've all been through growing pains. What gear do you purchase? And when you buy the gear, you have to have cameras, you have to have computers, you have to have software that works with the computers. Do you go Apple? Do you go Windows? That's what we're going to talk about here in a minute. I just think that those people that are serious about this, even if they're already in their, pursuit of this and they're struggling, there's a lot of value to be had here with just the 3 of us, let alone some of the people that we have helping with this thing that are not on here. So with that being said, that was a great introduction for everybody. And I know this is Cole and William's first time meeting. I'm sorry, not William, but Will. Do you get upset when people call you William? Is that your actual name or is it just Will? No? Okay. All right. So
Forgot I was muted. Yeah, no, it doesn't bother me at all.
all right. So let's go ahead and get into the topic today. I am going to ask both of you to share with me, and I don't need a whole, don't get too deep into it. I'm going to, give each of you a minute or two to discuss this, or if it's just a few seconds, whatever you feel is best. When I say tech stack, what do you think of?
I got nothing. At least in my world. In my world, that's a foreign term.
Cole?
I guess for me, I think of the software I use every day for my job. Whether it's I use Teams for communication, I work from home 29 out of 30. Well, I guess there's only 20 business days in a month, but I work out from my office here, 9 out of 10 days. So I always work from home. So for me, Teams is really important for communicating for people from work because they're all down in Fort Thomas, Kentucky. Other than that, I'm trying to think of tech stack. Like I would think social media to a certain extent. Pretty much any tech or software that you use on a daily basis. So what are those go-to programs you're using 1, 2, 3 times a day? Premiere Pro, I would consider that part of my tech stack. Anything that aids in me creating or doing work would be what I would consider. But what do you think?
Well, it's not necessarily what I think. It's what I'm trying to make. The tech stack I'm trying to make right now. Tech stack has multiple meanings in my universe inside of technology. You have your dev stack. So if you're a web dev, you have your web stack, your dev stack. There's different stacks and different terminologies within the technology world. But for me, it's more about having I'm creating a term called tech stack. I'm calling it just technology stack. And for me, it's anything that deals with zeros and ones or talks in zeros and ones or is needed that talks in zeros and ones that you use to, operate your business. It could be your email platform, your software for finance. It could be your ERP. It could be your social media, the platforms you're on. And it's everything. And when you really line that out, when I've asked companies in the past, what's your budget for your tech stack, or all your technology, we just didn't have a clear way to say everything that's technology wise. How do you get that budget together? So I took the term technology and from dev stack, web stack, and I've heard tech stack in other areas. In fact, I want to share my screen for a second because let's do this. Let's take this little exercise real quick. Let's type in tech stack into Google. A tech stack is the set of technologies used to develop an application, including programming languages, frameworks, databases, front end and back end tools, and APIs. And that is exactly what I was talking about. In development, stacks are everywhere. And you have a tech stack, develop an app. I'm trying to make technology stack and tech stack for short. And there's other terms out there that can, mean multiple things, right? Like Windows, you can have Windows, the operating system, or a window on your Windows. Like, all I'm getting at is I'm trying to turn tech stack into a term that we can use with Icora, with Rigid 6, with all of our clients. And I think it'll be very helpful if we talk about tech stack here at Creative Tech as well. When I say tech stack, I mean your hardware, your software, and how that is being used together, how it integrates. Basically, your ecosystem. I thought about using ecosystem too. Do you guys like ecosystem or tech stack better? Ecosystem, I feel like, is overplayed and it's just obnoxious right now.
I'm all for going with that new term, something fresh.
Obviously that, or it's like it's all also part of a workflow too.
Well, and so for Icora, we manage brand identity. I don't want to make this a talk around Icora, but we're building sessions around the practice from Icora, so it kind of helps. Digital identity. When we think of a company's digital identity and everything that makes up that digital identity, I say is your tech stack in your workforce, because it's not just the technology, it's how it's used, and your workforce is the one using it, right? So how your people we can both be on 365, but you're just using it for email, and here I am making apps, running my business and automating things. We're both on 365. We both have the same tech stack, but are we using it the same? No, it depends on your people. So your workforce and your technology, that's what makes up your identity. And for a creative tech, all right, the bottom line is I think we've grasped what we mean by tech stack or technology or ecosystem. We can move on from, there's something with that term I'm trying to create there, but moving past that so we can get into the meat of this. What does a creative tech need? And what is a creative tech, and what makes a creative tech's tech stack? Yeah. And we're going to break it down into 3 areas. I'm going to break it down into software, hardware, and how you use workflow per se. Let's start there as a general grounds. Those are the 3 topics, something along those lines. And next week, everybody, just so everybody knows, we're hoping to talk about production. We're going to get into talking about how projects are done, and then how we deal with fires as projects go on, and then how we manage our time throughout all that. So production and all that stuff. That's going to be a topic for the focus for next week. So please be here at 1 p.m., not 2. We're just late today because I'm an asshole. Bottom line is, what is a tech stack for a creative tech?
Are you asking us?
Will, you look like you're wanting to say something. You look like you're ready to say something.
I just feel like it that's too vague.
It
It
is.
comes
We
down
need
to
to know what the
applications.
person's doing, right? Well,
Yeah,
like,
because
what are
Cole's
they doing?
application is way different than my application, way different than your application.
Well, let's start from the top. Like, let's start with hardware. All right, let's start there, and let's talk about when it comes to hardware. Every creative tech needs a what? We all need a system, an operating system to work on, right?
I mean, everyone needs a
And
machine.
there's
Yes.
options out there. I'm breaking it down to the whole Windows versus Apple here. We have, and Cole's going to get beat up because we have one Windows user versus two Apple guys right now. And I guess I can be in the middle because I have a Windows. I can break out my laptop here on the desk too if you want to balance things out. So we have one Apple, one Windows, and one hybrid. If that makes everybody feel better. But no, like I want to take a second to talk about the whole Android, Windows, Apple, Linux, like choosing. I think when you choose that platform, it does say a lot of like, because there's certain things you can do about your tech stack, regardless of your industry, that will affect how you can work within that industry, right? Is that a
Yeah,
thing?
but
Does
I'm
Windows
not-
versus Apple still matter?
I don't. I was never against Windows. It just came down to the application and what made more sense. I don't
So for-
game on my MacBook. I don't game on a Mac because the application doesn't make sense.
Well,
And that's
it
actually a
does
really
now.
good point too, because that's the main reason I've stuck with Windows so long. Was I was like, oh, I'm gonna game. I can't game on a Mac, and then probably 5 years ago is kind of when I stopped gaming too much, and I haven't really been gaming since then. So it's like maybe I should go to the Mac operating system.
All right, time out. Video games.
Yeah.
Let's hear it out real quick because I have a feeling all three of us are video gamers. I haven't touched video games. When did we move here? I want to say we've been here for 4 or 5 years now. Like literally since we moved here, I've been on grind mode. I played for like the first 6 months we moved here. I finished playing Destiny up a little bit, and that was it. So, what video games do you guys play?
Like
You
currently,
guys have
or
time for
did?
video game? Currently,
I
does
still
anybody
play,
here
yeah.
currently have time for video games?
Yes.
Yeah, what games you playing right now?
Helldiver 2, of course. Like everyone
Never
else.
fucking even heard of it.
That's all my
I've never
coworkers
even
talk
heard.
about. Because I work
Yeah.
with nerds too. I mean, everyone I work
Wait,
with.
what? Wait.
Engineers like
No,
myself.
When my friends were playing Halo, I was trying to get them to go outside and play football with me. And this is when the Xbox first came out. I'm talking 25 years ago. I'm trying to get them to go outside and play football with me. And they're like, no, dude, I'm playing this game. They're playing Halo. And I'm like, guys, that's so stupid. Video games are so fucking dumb. I sat down for a second. I watched them play for like 5 minutes. And after that 5 minutes, I would say about 45 minutes later, I was at home playing my Xbox and playing Halo. So, yeah, like I used to be against it. Then I fucking loved it. And yeah, I'm curious, like, what the fuck? Like, I don't want to go look up this game because if it's really awesome, I might put down the football and start
No, it's
playing
awesome.
games again. So I'm afraid to go look.
No, it's pretty good.
Just tell me what it is because I'm curious. And I don't want to type it in because if I see it and it looks super amazing, I may be one of those people. Just tell me what it's about.
It's about democracy to start. It's what is it? Super Troopers? You ever seen Super Troopers? You know, the whole space.
Oh,
Army
you're not
cadets?
Star Troopers. We're talking about Star
Troopers, not Super. Yeah, not Super
Troopers
Troopers.
are the
Yeah,
damn police that are fucking on
that's
acid.
right.
and
Hey,
shit,
you know
which-
what? Honestly, it's pretty much
Really
those
trip.
dudes in space. It's just those dudes.
Exactly.
Just those dudes in space.
Yep, yep. So it's
That's
like
basically
so.
what it
So you're
is.
telling me there's a game like Starship Troopers, which is one of my favorite, the Bug movie, where all the big bugs are killed.
Yeah, they have bugs. They have bugs and robots.
Fuck you, god damn it! I'm going
They
to
just
fucking
added
play this
mechs.
game.
It's $40.
I hate you.
It's the best
I hate
$40
you
game
all
ever.
right now. You just fucking killed all my companies. I'm done.
But I only play like a couple hours a week at most. Like it's literally like maybe 2 nights a week I might get on and play. So it's not often, but it's there when I want it.
Yeah. And like today, I got so much work I'd like to do tonight, but granted, I've talked about this a lot too. My daughter's with me this weekend. So, I watched Dune with her the other day, and we're going to go see Dune 2 tonight. So, like, yeah, video games, going to the movies, hanging out, like, these are things that I don't do anymore. I need to do again. But, all right. See, I took us off. I knew I shouldn't have done that. I was going to take us off topic. And where did we leave off? Creative tech, Windows versus Apple. Is it a thing? Video games is a thing. So Joe got excited, started talking about video games. Now let's get back to it.
I'm trying to think if you can even, I'm sure you can get like Autodesk products on Macintosh, no problem, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, so anymore, I mean, would we say like we're also developing, because we don't know what the true creative tech is. We definitely want it to be broad enough to have a good community, but we want it to also be niche enough so where we can narrow it in. Like, is a creative tech somebody that has a camera? Do we want to like break in? Because I know that, today, even getting on this call, we all have StreamYard. We set up StreamYard as a band, as a group. And we're going to start using this tool site, together. Trying to get set up today, I know we ran into a plethora of technology issues, and getting the right, angles and things set up. And we're trying to, getting you guys on these calls is very like getting us lined up, and to get 3 people to show up for something, especially a band, like an actual music band, and then doing something like this. At least we get to do it from the convenience of our own home. And I love how each one of us, you can tell we're creative techs just by our personal spaces. You can just tell by looking at our surroundings that we are creating our own, because we're all in our home studios right now. We've all created a space that we can grow and for a creative tech, I think we'll start learning what makes up a creative tech as we do this. So that's why I like these conversations on what makes a creative tech. What would a tech stack look like for a creative tech? What components of it? Are they primarily Windows? Are they primarily Apple? Are they both? Does it matter? Cameras, is that part of being a creative tech? And if so, let's get into the whole camera thing. I mean, I chose Sony because I looked up who's being the most innovative, who's coming out with the keeping up with the technology. Nikon was going down, but as you stated earlier, Will, which I learned today, that they just bought Red, which is going to make them back in the game like a motherfucker. So Nikon, where? What? They ain't going nowhere. They're still here. So for me, I think I went to Apple because, bottom line, consistency. With everything I do, I want consistency. I like the ecosystem. I like going from the computer to my tablet to my phone, and it's the same. And with Windows, you go from one Windows computer to the next Windows computer, and everybody has different builds because different hardware at all times. And that is one of the pros to Windows, is that there's so many ins and outs and different ways you can use Windows. So Steve Jobs was like, well, we need to button it up for quality and making sure it can really push out those powerful programs and things. So they both have their, with Windows, it just allows technology to integrate real easy and do things. So there's pros and cons to both. So as a creative tech, would you say they will lean more towards Apple versus Windows, or does it matter?
I think it just depends on what you're comfortable with, honestly.
I think today's world, I think you can get away with either.
It's all about budget too. Because I think for a long time, the barrier of entry, not now, but for a long time, like, I don't even know how long ago, the barrier of entry to get into a Mac product compared to a Windows product. I mean, you can get a Windows machine for $200. There wasn't necessarily a Mac option for that unless you're buying used. So for me, that was like one part of it. But now I think with the cost of computer hardware and Mac getting as good as they are with their new Mac Silicon, I don't really know too much about it, Silicon. That barrier of entry is definitely closed down a lot. So now you can kind of choose one or the other and stay at that same price point. And maybe you're actually getting more performance for your money if you go with a Mac product. So,
yeah, I was going to say, the reason I made that face before you said barrier, the cost is because of, I feel like depending upon what your application is and what you needed to do, you are going to have to spend that extra coin on Windows side regardless. Now, you could save a little bit, get more performance if it was a desktop versus like a mobile machine. But in the grand scheme of it, I would say your entry for a pretty decent cable machine, if you're doing something that's more graphic related, is going to be around $800 to $1,000, and that's just like to start. Versus obviously you can have a $3,000 machine, a $4,000 machine that's going to be kitted out. But I think just to get into the door of doing some stuff that's rendering, I think even in your world, it's still, you needed a little bit more from a processor, or maybe you needed more RAM. But
well, now with these
that's
M1 chips, though, like with,
well,
with
I'm talking
the
before,
M2,
like yeah, I'm talking about before, like when it was just Intel-based Macs versus Intel or AMD-based Windows. Now, honestly, dude, if you can go get an M1 Mac Mini, and it is ridiculous how good it is.
This iPad has the M1 in it, and and I know they throttle it due to certain things because it can only go so much, but for it to be, and anytime I sit down on someone's computer now to help them out, most of my clients, nobody has, the like waiting for things to load and things of that nature. I mean, you still have to on the M1s. And if you get an actual Mac Mini M1 with the lower specs, it is like a high performance i5 still, but it's, I don't know, there's just something about it that's just still more snappy, and it just crunches shit out better. So, I think you're right. It comes down to what you're going to build, what your budget is, and most things today you can do anything with either. So but I think the point I want to make here about this is when you choose a piece of hardware, you also have to think about the other counterparts. Like, are you using CNC machines? What kind of CNC machine are you going to use, and what do they support? And you'll see with applications, some applications are heavier towards one operating system than the other. Like Autodesk and AutoCAD, how open are those on both platforms?
That's why I wasn't really sure. I mean, my company only uses Windows-based machines, and we're actually getting new machines here in a couple months, is what I'm hearing. And we're switching over to laptops. But right now, currently, we are just using all Windows workstations at the office, and I use remote desktop through Windows and a VPN to actually log on to that computer. So I'm using a remote desktop on my computer to remote into my desktop that's actually in Fort Thomas, Kentucky, that physical desktop. But nobody's using Mac. I mean, there might be some people that are remoting in using their Mac, but nobody is actually using a Mac to do the rendering and running the Revit software. So I would say it's all Windows right now. And I know the new machines we're going with are going to be Windows 2. So, I mean, we're definitely in Windows for the long haul. And I work for a fairly small company. We're about 110 people. So just to put things into perspective.
Yeah, and I would looking at them, I would say I wouldn't even buy everybody brand new. Get everybody laptops, but they don't have to be, engineer laptops, because if they just bought a good blade system and put that in their data center, or even just found a data center they can rent space from, which would probably be more cost effective for them, to be honest with you, where they can set up a virtual environment. So that way, while you're at home, you can just remote in through and I love BYOD. That's something we do at iCore, is that we provide people bring your own device to work. That's what BYOD means. And, we have the security to allow your machine to, connect to a VPN and then remote into a virtual environment that you can run your AutoCAD and all that, because it's graphics, all the power is there, and you're just using your local machine as a terminal, essentially. So yeah, and that's a good point to make, is that there's all this stuff is going cloud-based as well. This software we're running this stream right here in 1080, that's as high as it can go, is 1080. Now, I know we're going to get to a point where we're making these videos and we're going to want to record, all four of us or all three of us record these in 4K at our places and send them all to Willem, because he just loves editing so much. We're going to let him, take that and actually take that stream and shorten it up and be able to film B-roll and some other stuff and make it better. And just think about all the small clips that we have in these conversations that will make good content. So yeah, it's just, once you get something like this running, and you just have to know what it is you're going to be building and doing, then you know what to go with. You'll know what to purchase. So I don't want to get too much longer hung up on hardware. So I want to move. I don't want to leave hardware just yet. We got 25 minutes left. I want to get to the software side of things. and also to like, how do we maintain all that? So other than computers, we touch base on cameras a little, but I don't think we've talked much about cameras enough. Do you feel like as we figure out what creative techs are, I would say a majority of them will be someone that will have some form of a camera or making content? I think in today's age, to be a true modern creative tech, we all have aspirations to do what we're doing at this very moment. I think we all should be doing this more. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
Real quick, one last thing about the whole hardware thing. I will say this: if you are someone who wants to work with AI and AI-based technology, and you want to start working with those, and I'm not talking about just like Chat GPT, like super public tools, but no, I'm talking like you download. There are tools that are not restricted by company terms of use. I'm testing a few environments. That's Windows. That's Windows only. You cannot run that on a Mac because it requires hardware and
Linux build. Yeah, there's some appliances that the virtual appliances you can install too. So, I'm very fortunate to have a true data center, like an actual legit data center. And we're able to spin up these VMs to practice these MML language models that you can run in your own and train yourself. So that's a whole other can of worms. But I don't feel like that's really, do you feel like creative techs will be creating their own? I think it's going to get more packaged.
I was just bringing up that out of all the things I could think of that are just one, like you could go either way. That's the only thing I can think of that is quite literally just one way, and it's a hot topic. So,
I would like to learn more about that because I want to know. Like I'm sure, and somebody that uses Mac that has 90% of their clients that are Windows based, like even if I'm on my Mac, I can just remote into a Windows machine and run what I got to do. So you may see somebody working with AI a lot, but. Yeah, but their core
that doesn't count.
That doesn't count.
That's still Windows.
It doesn't count. You're right. What I'm saying is
you're saying Windows machine to do that. That's a great point.
Yeah.
Right. You're saying the core AI installations have to run on a Windows environment at the moment. And I want to look more into that because that is interesting to me. So let's any more thoughts on the hardware side of things? And budget's a big part of it too. So anything else on that? I will always also say know where you are. I have, for myself, I have a company that allows me to invest into, some of these things that I'm using for this, I use to support Icora. Not everybody has this kind of gear. Know where you are. Because I did have just a HP laptop at one time that I had to buy for myself, and that's what I had to get at the time. You will get to a point where you can start purchasing and have investments and start, and getting your own business. I think a creative tech also, Cole, I just realized the other day, your domain is still active. So I don't know if you plan on using that domain, but like having your own domain, having your own LLC and creating your own, I think it's important for a creative tech to have that as well. And I guess know where you are and we want to help you get to where you want to go. All right. Software. What kind of software do you guys use for editing your videos?
I'm still using Adobe products. I've tried to use DaVinci Resolve, and what I'll do is I will use DaVinci Resolve to color grade essentially a couple times, but I'll still cut everything in Premiere Pro, export in EDL, import that into DaVinci Resolve for my timeline, and then export ProRes 422HQ output with that EDL, and then I can go in there and color grade in DaVinci pretty easily. But that's still using two pieces of software. I'd love to go completely DaVinci Resolve, but I just haven't made that jump yet. So I'm still using 90%, 95% Premiere Pro, After Effects when needed. But yeah, all Adobe products still.
I'm just DaVinci and Final Cut. I can't do Adobe. Adobe to me, my biggest gripe. I only use Adobe Photoshop and Lightroom. Adobe Video or anything else, honestly, if that matter. They're great, but I have this weird qualm with a company that's as big as Adobe is, collect monthly fees for all of their applications, and have another company much smaller, DaVinci, Blackmagic, make a tool that is like 85, 90% of what Adobe offers for a one-time fee, or it just comes with the camera when you buy it. And like, to me, that's just like, I don't know. It's kind of, to me, it just feels really greedy that Adobe's like, oh yeah, we're going to do this monthly subscription, but we're doing that so that we can give you features more often. And yet it's like, it has stability issues. It has like, it's a resource hungry piece of software. And yet I have Final Cut and I have DaVinci Resolve that run flawlessly on like any machine that I put them on. And really the only limitation I ever ran into is running or having too many 4K streams going on at one time, like stacked. And that was like 4 or 5 of them stacked, which you don't need them stacked because you can't see them all at once anyway. So it was just like, to me, that's my qualm with Adobe. If they would have just, you know, I think they cornered themselves. I think they had a really solid, obviously like industry standard thing going on for a long time. And then
until CS6 or CS7, was it?
But regardless, at some point in time, there was like a teeter to where this advancement in technology or software optimization for depending upon the operating system came out. And then I feel like Adobe was too deep in their own like circle that they couldn't actually like change to be as efficient. I think they're just stuck where they're at unless they completely rebuild it from the ground up. Which is why I think, even with Adobe Premiere and After Effects, you're going to see DaVinci Resolve in the next couple years overtake and have the same functionality as After Effects and the same functionality as Premiere, but in one application instead of having 2 applications. Because DaVinci Resolve has Fusion as its After Effects portion of the software.
Not to mention, too, that you can get DaVinci Resolve free. I have a free version.
They do have a free version of it, yes.
So there's no like, oh, well, I don't have $100 to spend to get Premiere Pro or whatever it is. You can get into DaVinci Resolve for free. Mm-hmm. Do everything you need to do, and then if you're ready to take that leap, because I'm not sure exactly what features aren't available in the free version. But I know like noise reduction is a huge one that DaVinci Resolve has. Their noise reduction is definitely the industry standard. I mean, most movies are color graded in DaVinci Resolve, or more than Premiere Pro. I'm not in the industry, but I've just heard, yeah.
Unfortunately, noise reduction is not available in the free version.
Yeah,
that is one thing that I learned right away because I really wanted to use it. Actually, that's what got me into DaVinci. There was a particular project that came up where I was like, I needed that feature, and I downloaded that and found out I couldn't do that. But I think the only limitations you really run into, besides some of the built-in effects and stuff, is you can't export in certain resolutions. I don't think you can export a 4K project. So it's like little things like that.
Well, I want to take a second to
I need to let my dog out real quick. I'm sorry. Give me 1 second. He's
take your time,
right
man. Yep. What's going on, big guy? So what I'd like to take a second to do a little spiel on is that at Icora, we like to have consistency, and we only manage clients that are on Microsoft 365. You know, there are certain cases where, depending on the size of the company and if they're on a different platform, we break our rules if we can justify it. But typically, all of our clients are managed, to some degree, consistently. And when you're a creative tech, if you want to build out platforms, you want to build out, channels or streams, or have a team go shoot videos and have other people, like have an audio guy and multiple people. If you want to do things at scale where you have multiple people working and collaborating together, you have to find ways to be consistent across the board, especially long term, years and years on end. So as as my companies grow, all my companies need this software. I chose Apple as my primary workstations for me, my technicians, and people that work with Icora. And Windows has its place with Icora and everything else. That's in the data center, things of that nature. But where I'm going with this is for the creative tech side of things. When it came to cameras, it was either Canon, it was Blackmagic, it was Sony, and what I looked at was who's being the most innovative, who is being the one that's like, cost effective, and there's plenty of options. And Sony seemed like and from all the YouTubers and everybody, like just people that's in it and doing well and has this grind going, it seemed like Sony was it matched my tone. And trust me, it was hard because Canon almost happened with Canon, but I feel like that was a little bit overkill for what I needed. So sticking with the Sony lineup, I want to get an FX6 at some point, but Rigid 6 has to get to a point where it's doing more and more projects. So as I'm deciding ecosystem, where I'm going with all this stuff is long term, how can I have, consistency with my bodies and my lenses for my company over the next 10, 20 years? How can I have a good platform for editing and training and getting multiple people that know a platform? Adobe is my go-to for that. And I did hear the, now that he's gone, we'll talk shit behind his back. No, Will knows we work together and his work is incredible and however he wants to do it, that's up to him. Because I know when he edits projects he does it in DaVinci, but Icora already has Adobe, so we already have Premiere. I'm not going to go out and get something else. So if I have to edit something, it's going to get done with the suite we've already chosen. And when you decide your suite, when you decide your thing, maybe financing will definitely help you decide that. Because back in the day, hell, you could just get CS6 and get somebody to get you a keygen to get in and just use CS6. But once they were losing their ass. And I could see why they went subscription based and with, depending on what package you want, you can get a cost effective solution as a photographer or as a videographer. And, there's plenty of tools there, but yeah, it's not for everybody. And there's stock imaging platform, all that. So Adobe is a good platform for what I do. And then, Sony cameras, Apple, and that's just what I'm using. But as you can see, there's other creative techs that have different ecosystems or different tech stack DNA. So it's really up to you and what works for you and your brand. And I don't talk about this too much, but your personal brand, the creative tech was supposed to be my personal brand, but I feel like it's going to be more than that because I can never just have Joseph Sunderman is my personal brand. My personal channel is my personal brand. My Facebook page is my personal brand. The creative tech is going to be a community of these like-minded people. So once you have all this gear, how do you take care of it? How do you maintain it? And long-term, what do we do to make sure that, like for instance, having all these different applications, like I know, Will, that works for him as far as having the different applications, but how do you maintain all that, especially with all the updates and stuff? And then cameras the same way. How long is a camera good before you have to replace it, right? So I want to talk about maintaining and making choices based around long-term decisions, investments.
I don't know. The A7 III is still going strong.
Right?
I still have, I got an A7 III right when it came out, kind of in that time period. And then I got a Blackmagic Pocket 6K. And that kind of, looking back at it, I almost wish I wouldn't have, because I think it kind of hindered me creating a lot, because I went from using a Sony A7 III to now having to rig out my Blackmagic Pocket 6K. I got huge files. I have a huge battery. I need a monitor. I need to pull focus, or I need someone to pull focus for me. So all those extra limitations as a one-man band is not ideal. But if you have a team and you're working on a project, you have a grip, a gaffer, you got a whole lighting package where you can light up a scene as much or as little as you need to, and you can get enough light for that sensor. But truth be told, a Blackmagic, if you don't have good lighting, isn't going to look great. Just with any camera. I mean, if lighting is key, number one. But what's nice about Sony's offerings, I mean, you get a full frame camera, you get a nice prime lens of f1.4. You can shoot up to ISO 10,000 and still be able to have a clean image. Whereas my Blackmagic that I shoot with, if I go over 1250 on the ISO, it's just way too grainy. It is raw footage, so I get to work with a little bit more, but there's just a lot more work that I have to do on the post-production by using the Blackmagic. Whereas if I would have just stuck with maybe buying a 24 to 70 lens instead of the Blackmagic, I would have actually been more versatile than I thought I was by having a Sony that I could put on my gimbal and then having the Blackmagic that I could put on a tripod. And then it just created more issues because then I'm trying to match footage. I'm trying to, I mean, they both have different audio sources that they can use. I got to use XLRs for the Blackmagic. The Sony, I can use pretty basic audio options. So choosing, like you said, Joseph, just choosing Sony and sticking with that, you've invested all your time and money into new Sony bodies, new Sony lenses, that it's worked out because now you're in an ecosystem for good and you have options. Whereas me, it's like I have two cameras that do two totally different things, where I could have just stuck with the A7 III, got a couple extra lenses and been way more versatile for my personal self, because being a solo shooter, I don't ever really have a team to work with.
The Blackmagic is so buttery. It's so buttery.
I love the footage when it's sunny out and it's, golden hour. It's like, okay, yeah.
It is. I agree. I'm not, but I think you can achieve. I know it's not raw and captured, but I think you can achieve the same thing post-production to some degree. And to me, just like I'm going to shout out Spencer real quick and his nostalgia for old lenses. I mean, there are creative ways and creative things that you can do.
This.
Yeah, like you guys, your weird old. Is that the Nifty?
Not weird. That's the Helios.
Yeah, I got a couple of weird ones. I got the Probe. I got the 0D 12.
I got a couple weird G Masters over here. They're strange, right?
Yeah, it's
flex on us with that. Oh yeah, I got the Laowa Zero Distortion.
I will buy. I low key really want to buy that Probe lens though. That's a lens that I think is just slept on. It's so cool.
It is, and I love the way you use it. I can't wait to share the project that we did last time with everybody. I know we can't,
April
4th or something, April 8th.
It's early. It's early April. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I definitely see us, getting traction with this. I'm not going to lie. This is all to help better myself, because this is all practice for me to sell and get business for Icora, right? I'm getting ready I want to take a shout out for a moment while we're on here to say next in April 16th, there's this group called Cincy AI, and it's a networking group. And I know you two would be rock stars in there. And these are business people, and this is a great networking opportunity. And if you're interested in using AI, I recommend you come check it out. Kendra's amazing. She's the one that runs the thing. She has a co-host, which I can't remember. Helen, I believe is her name. But they even gave me an opportunity to speak at this next event before the event. And I told them, not quite ready to get out there to that level yet, but I do see myself doing some talks. And the Digital Futures building at UC, oh my god, that building is awesome. Have you ever seen that, Cole?
No. When did they finish that?
So when we have these Cincy AI meetups, they're usually at some really cool place, and this was my first one going to, by the way, and they've had 6. So I'll be going to the one on April 16th. And as we're engaging with communities and I go there to talk to them, and I point them back to this channel, I point them back to the things that we do and what we know, especially when we start sharing things. Like right now, there's no real agenda. We kind of talked before this at 10 minutes. Say, hey, I want to talk about this today. What do you guys think about this being the topic? Okay, we'll get it done. And as we laid out during the discussion earlier, where we can schedule things out, like as we get good at this and as we build it out, start taking notes, and really through our day we think about this. That's there's something in business practice and leadership, as Ikora is learning how to coach and manage leaderships to be a modern workforce, to work with their modern tech stack so they have the best digital identity. As we get that ironed out, I could see us helping that initiative. Like Ikora is the main focus here, and everything that we do will play towards that central point. And there's just so many opportunities right now, and we get to pick who we get to work with. So yeah, I'm excited about this. We got roughly 4 minutes, and I'm trying to, I call Rigid 6 for a reason. We want to be prompt, consistent with our operations, with our productions, and not too rigid, but strong rigid. So bottom line is we're going to do these hour sessions. I'm going to be doing them, hopefully with the help of Will and Cole. Maybe they won't be here every time, but they're definitely going to be, when they can make it. I hope they can. And we got a lot of behind the scenes stuff to do. We hope to help other people, coach them, and build up that platform to some degree. Right now we're doing what I call free sessions. I have a schedule set up on my LinkedIn page. You can go to my LinkedIn page. You can find it on the group or on the channel or whatever, and you can schedule a session with me. And I'm doing free sessions right now. And I'm trying to convince these assholes to do free sessions as well on a calendar where they can commit to some time just to get in the flow of doing this. Because I know when I have sessions with clients now, and these are businesses, these are executives, they're feeling empowered and ready to go to their work week, and they're actually being more productive, and they're meeting their goals. I want to help people do that. And I think, even with Cole and William, I hope they feel empowered after this session right here. I want us all. I've learned a lot during this session. What do you guys think? Did it feel good?
Yeah, I think you and your passion, just being all jacked up about it, is great, because you got both of us, Steven, like you said, you got us here to join you on the call. I know you've been going live pretty much daily, day in and out, and we see that passion that you have. So It's made it easier for us to jump on board too and be like, okay, he's serious about this. Because Will and I just met today. I knew a little bit on him from Joseph, but we just kind of talked back and forth. Like you said, we didn't really have too much of an objective going into this, but at the end of it, I think we hit on a lot of cool topics. And I know next week we're going to be able to hit on things even more and kind of go more even in depth with it today than what we were able to today. So yeah, I'm fired up.
Well, yeah,
as you are.
Getting a newsletter or something eventually, maybe it's a monthly one that gives us something to talk about each. That's what I've been doing with business. Is like I have a goal, and I create systems to help me get to that goal. There's this great saying: we don't rise to the level of our goals, we fall to the level of our systems. A book by this guy that I can't think of his name, but the book's called Atomic Habits, and I recommend people check it out. But I'm an old man. I fucked off the first half of my life, and I'm like kind of pissed now that I'm getting old, and like, oh my God, I should have been doing this since I was 20. But then again, I keep telling myself, fucking Joe, you fucking dropped out of high school to be in bands. You have been doing this. You're just getting mature. So all I'm saying is like, yeah, I'm excited to have you guys be a part of this with me. I want to try to keep myself healthy and intact, so that way I don't have a heart attack, and we can keep this thing going.
Told you.
All right, guys. And we're going to keep learning and playing with our tools here. I just seen you do a little zoom in and zoom out there. So
I was exiting apparently when you use your iPhone as the camera and you click on the camera button up here, it turns on center stage, which all it does is move the camera around your face when you move around.
Oh, yeah. So if you're like walking around, it follows you and stuff.
Yeah.
Yep. That's, and I definitely want to like your camera problem you were having today. That is a very specific topic, and I hope you can see why I want to keep things up here. But yeah, I definitely think with problems like before we got on this call, William, well, first it was the camera thing, then you got that resolved, then it was something with StreamYard, right?
Yeah, something with StreamYard and Google. Google needs permissions to access every fiber of my laptop just to be able to use a mic and a camera. To me, it just seems so.
All that shit, yeah.
But I did. I gave it access, and it still wasn't enough. So I actually the fix was uninstalling Chrome for a second time, because when I opened up Chrome, it was out of date. So I had to uninstall it, reinstall it for the update. Then I had to uninstall it and reinstall it again, just so it could recognize permissions for a built-in microphone and a my camera. Here we are.
Yeah, I'm getting anxiety just thinking about it. But yeah, we can. I definitely think there's going to be things like that, and I don't even know if is Sony aware of this problem that you can't use. Like my Teams calls have been asked because I can't use my. I mean, I guess they're still good, but I don't get to use my setup on Teams calls because of this. Ever since I got the Ada Mini, that fixed that, because I don't have to rely on the Sony software and it showing up as a. But I do believe it's something to do with Sony's add-on that you make it like. I know you're using yours, aren't you, Cole? You're using.
Yeah, I'm using the Imaging Edge. I noticed too is you can't use the audio from your input.
The camera.
So I have to use. Yeah, so I got to use like my mic. But luckily, I mean, I use this for work every day, so I have it already set up. But I thought that was a little annoying because I'd love to be able to use my like DJI mic that's connected, if it was connected to the A7 III, and then not even need this. But that's something I'll work on for sure.
Yeah, I streamed the other day from my built-in mics, and I was talking to this the whole time. Like, yeah, blah, 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 and then I listened to it. I'm like, oh, fuck, yeah, shit.
Oh, yeah, that's
So
actually one thing I will say. StreamYard's terrible for monitoring audio, because I wanted to hear what the mic sounded like, and it kept just showing me levels, and it was like, hey, it looks like it's working. And I'm like, levels don't mean anything. It could be.
I want to hear the quality, asshole, yeah.
Yeah, and I opened up OBS just to be able to see what the audio sounded like, and then went back to it.
Yeah, and that's something that, like, as we do this better, like right now, this is our look. I think we can get better. We can use a combination of StreamYard and OBS, I believe, for streaming ease. Or I don't know. Do we just use OBS? Was StreamYard a bad decision? So after the year, before the year renews, do we not renew it and start using OBS? Like, we're going to figure that out as we go. We're learning. And that's why I think that's part of this is that we see the Delta. There's something called operational excellence, and I'll touch on this a lot. Operational excellence is, always working. Here, let's just do this. Let me do this real quick. I know we're basically wrapping up for the day. So, but same thing here. Operational if I can type today. Where's the definition? Operational excellence is a way for organizations to create a roadmap toward continuous improvement in a complex business environment. So, sessions for Icora, the platform, and this is a resemblance of that: one focus, 3 topics. The business takes it further to where those 3 topics have 3 improvements they make internal to the company. They're policies that get improved and documented on their team site. We provide them. Anyway, operational excellence is about continuous improvement. So Sessions gives a company an actual platform internally to allow them to continuously improve. We call it operational excellence, and this actual business term. So it's something that we need to do in our own lives. We need to, don't get too rigid. Don't say I'm not a morning person. Well, if you call yourself, you're going to get in the mindset that you're not a morning person, and you'll never be a morning person. I have a tendency not to be a morning person. That means you're leaving yourself room to grow, and so changing framework and things of that nature. I do want to bring some of that to the Creative Tech, because today the focus was on technology. I do want to have next week's going to be on productivity, but at some point I want to talk about workforce, leadership, and how you can frame things to get better in life and to, deal with matters and objectives better. So yeah, there's so much for us to talk about. I got so much I want to talk about, so I'm excited, guys. I really appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. And I'll learn to shut up too, going on those rants. I know they can be quite tedious. I do it on the phone with both of you. I know I do. I'm sorry.
You do love talking, but I'm a listener, so I'll just sit there and let you talk and hear you out for sure.
Well, if I say something stupid, let me know. All right, guys.
By the way, Joe, we'll throw this on here because it's not really related, but it's related. Our next project is most likely not going to be on the day I told you, the 16th.
Oh,
it
yeah?
has been moved to the first weekend of April.
First weekend of April. That's coming up pretty soon. I think we need details on this. Give me 1 second. Yes, love. Well, yeah, we're wrapping up. I'll call you right back. Love you. She's wanting me to go spend time with her. It's Saturday. We started. She's like, I thought you started it. Yeah, I was so fucking late. All right, guys. Yeah. So I want details, and we're going to talk more about that project in next week's session. I hope. If you guys, I really hope that we can all be here. And again, if the three of us aren't here next week, I really hope, I know I'll be here, and I think this is a good hour stream for people. I think there's something that people can get off this. So I really like, it's on the YouTube channel. So feel free to share it, and let's hope next week is smooth and we can have some time to collaborate and get a good focus with 3 topics that we're going to discuss.
Cool deal.
Sounds good.
Awesome, guys. I appreciate you. Have a good week, everybody. Keep it heavy, keep it real. That's my little gay saying I want to say.